Alright guys, this video is going to be for the MLA folks. If you are an APA person, you do not have to watch this video. Go watch the APA video, okay? So MLA folks, when we are in week 4 and we come to the MLA or APA practice sheet assignment, you are going to download the MLA practice sheet, not the APA one. You should only be doing one of these, right? So we download the MLA one, and we should be able to see this and fill it out. Now this is making sure you're aware of what the rules are for MLA. Okay, now we've gone over a lot of these rules, but we're going to be up here. So this is the header. Well, what are the rules for your header? We want to point out the mistakes below. Now, I'm okay with either you fixing all the mistakes till it looks like how you think it's supposed to look, or if you want to type out what the errors are. But I'll just do this first one with you so that you understand what I mean. So our header is supposed to be in Times New Roman. It is supposed to be in 12-point font. It is supposed to be double spaced. Is it in the right order? Yes. Your name, the professor's name, the class name, and the date. Is the date correct? Yes, it is the day, the month spelled out, and the year. So I would say, I think this has solved all the errors. Okay? And either you can give this to me as a fixed version, or you could write, this is in the wrong font and size. It needs to be double spaced. And those are all the errors you have identified, right? So however you want to make this work, you are finding these errors, okay? Now we're going to come to errors in punctuation for quoting for a source. Now, in MLA, if you are quoting a source, there are a couple rules. You want the last name of the first author listed. This is because if we were to go down to the works cited page, this should be the first thing you see on that works cited page. If you don't have an author, then it would be the title, right? So whatever the first thing is in your works cited thing, that's what you're going to put here, which is usually the last name of the first author listed. And then if it is a page number, you just put the page number. You do not write PP period. You do not put a comma. Okay, you just write it like that. Now, what this is identifying is errors in punctuation. So some rules for quoting and citing a source. Well, when we are coming out of a quote, the period does not go at the end of the quote, but rather at the end of the citation. Think of it as the citation being a part of the sentence, okay? So we would want it to look like that. Now that's a rule we have. It does not look like this. Then this is amorphous and floating, right? It doesn't exist in the same sentence, so we want it to. And the period goes outside of the parentheses. So this is another rule. If we were to state here all of this information, if we were to introduce the quote and say, this book says this thing, we could take out this, and then the period would go inside the quote. So when you're doing a quote, it doesn't go outside the quotation marks. It goes inside the quotation marks. Now, the reason we could take away that tag, as it were, is because we cited the information somewhere else in the actual sentence, right? So if you cite it in the sentence, it doesn't have to be tagged. You can absolutely tag it if you want to cover your bases. Make sure if it does have a page number, maybe we just do the page number, but you would still want it to be totally correct, right? With the period outside of the parentheses. So I know that's weird, but in general, the rule is period outside the parentheses, period inside the quotes. If you have no parentheses, right? Now, there are exceptions to that rule, of course, but for the most part, that is what you're going to be doing, and that is what I would be looking for in this, is how do you cite your sources in text? Well, you cite them like this, okay? And then finally, I'd like you to come down to this works cited page and fix the works cited page, okay? So this has a lot of errors in it. The first error is that it's not a hanging indent, but basically we're gonna go through and find all the errors, and then you're gonna have it turned into me looking like the most correct works cited. Couple rules, actually a works cited page because there's multiple works. If there was only one work, it would only say work, but it's works cited page. But basically what you should do for this, because you're not going to have the rules memorized, is go over to Purdue OWL, okay? And Purdue OWL has works cited page books, basic format, periodicals, electronic sources. So the first thing you need to do is identify what type of source this is. Well, this is a journal, okay? And we can click on the link. The link should work. Except so we can see that it is a journal. So when we come here, we want to go to periodicals, come all the way down, and see it's an article in a scholarly journal, right? That's what it is. However, maybe we want electronic because this is electronic. So is there a better fit? Entire website, course department website, ebook, an image, an article in an online scholarly journal. Okay, so maybe that's what we want. Online only, or appears in print as well. Article from a database. Well, this is an article we found on a database. So that is our best bet, right? So then you want to compare what is supposed to be done for that type of article, or for that type of, why is it looking weird? Okay. Compare what this looks like to what it's supposed to look like. So we can see the first error here is that this last name, first name was wrong, right? Then we have an and we have the name, first name, last name, cool. Then we have drug addiction, capitalized with quotes. There's no period. We need a period. Okay, then we come and it's italics. School of is probably lowercase. Medicine, we need a comma there, okay? So you see how I'm just going through, looking at this, looking at that, and seeing if the punctuation matches. Oh, volume, lowercase. Period, space between those. And then it looks like we have a comma. And then number, also lowercase, right? Then we have the date. There should be a period if we're abbreviating the month. then a comma. There are no page numbers listed. If there are no page numbers listed, we're just going to put a period. Then we have our database, which is missing. Well, we don't know how this person searched for this, right? So we're going to skip the database. Oops. And backspace, comma. So I'm going back up here, scholarly online journal. See, no database is stated there, so we don't know their database. And then we're going to put a period here. And then the final thing we want to fix, we want to do that hanging indent that we saw in the last video. Oh, Apple, how you confuse me. Okay, and that is correct. The final thing, so you're going to do that for every single one of these, right? The final thing I need you to do, to the best of your ability, right? Some of it is like, well, I didn't find this article. There's no link. This doesn't have a link. You're going to have to do to the best of your ability. How would you fix this, right? What does this even mean? Well, this is an APA format, kind of. It's a messed up APA. So this is the year of publication. This is the volume, and this is the number, and this is the page numbers. And this is the title. But, you know, if you get stuck, if you're like, I really don't know this one, just put a comment on there that you tried, right? But we're supposed to be identifying these issues. But the final thing for Works Cited is that it needs to be in alphabetical order. So when you go through and fix all of these, so they're all last name, first name, then we would put them in alphabetical order. So I'm guessing F doesn't start, probably D. Oh, we have a C, right? So you would want to put those all in different orders. So we would have this go above this, right? And that is what you're looking to do on this site or on this MLA practice page. Of course, there are going to be articles that you find that do not have an author. So if you didn't have an author, you would just start with the first piece of information you have. You have the title. DR goes below DO, so it is in the right place. But if it doesn't have an author, again, question its ethos, its credibility. What are we thinking about that? But if you do have missing information, you just go in the order and you skip the thing you don't have, right? And that should be how we do that specific assignment. If you have any questions about this assignment, please feel free to email me, but it is just for you to get used to looking at that Purdue OWL website and figuring out how to go about formatting an MLA to the best of your ability so that you can then apply it to your annotated bibliography, right? Okay. Have a good week. So sorry for all the long videos. I hope this is making sense, and we shouldn't have another week where things are this long.